Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Not today, you New World Order jackboot fucks.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things Podcast. I am Sam. Today we're talking about The Last of Us Season 1 Episode 3. Joining me to have some fun and chat through a jolly good episode where lots of love and kindness and happiness. It's Stefan!
And heartbreak and everything else.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah,
mate.
I didn't finish the list.
No, wow. Yeah, wow. Hello, mate.
Also joining me and Stefan to discuss the wonderful show that I believe told a better love story in one episode than the whole Twilight saga, it's Kayleigh.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you both?
Yes, both well, but I say this genuinely to you with this. Like, are you okay after this episode? I watched it and I was like, this hit me and I don't know if Kayleigh's going to be okay.
No, I had to go and have a lie down.
Yeah. I needed my emotional support animals, and
I did.
yeah. The first thing, Stefan, we got to do this because people really got quite cross with me when I forgot. This is Season 1, Episode 3 of The Last of Us, and the title of the episode was...
Long time.
Yeah, so when I saw that title, I looked at it, I was thinking... Oh, this is going to be one of those that at some point in the episode, someone's going to be like, oh, that was a long time ago, or something like that. It's just going to be someone who says it. So yeah. I kind of had that at the start. I was like, oh, and now we're seeing this guy, and this bloke called Bill, and he's a prepper. It's going to be him. I could hear it. By the time I realised why it was called that, I was gone. I was like, no, you can shove this episode. No, you're not allowed to make me fall in love with people this quickly and then take them away from me. This is ridiculous. And this series in 3 episodes have done that twice. Like Joel's daughter, and I said about this on episode 1. What an amazing job she did in 15-20 minutes, making us all care for her to then actually really feel the impact of her death. And then they give us this episode where they give us a full hour of basically a love story, and
yeah.
Wow. Why would they be so cruel? Now what I'm going to open with is I'm going to say to you, I have seen via social media this diverges from the game in a significant way.
Yeah.
Now, I feel personally, having now read how the game goes, I completely get why they did it and I like it. A lot of the people who are hardcore gamers don't, shock horror. And there's also a very strong demographic who didn't enjoy it as well, but we'll come on to that. But mate, can you talk about the divergence, the kind of this is what the game did and this is what the show did different?
Well, yeah, Bill's alive in the game. That's like the major point number 1. That is, yep. Bill's not dead. That's a point. Yeah. Frank is dead, but Frank is dead because he hung himself after an argument with Bill whilst he's infected.
Okay.
So that's a bit different as well.
Just a bit.
Like in the game, you don't really you actually see Frank hanging from a tree. And they kind of mention that was Frank and he was infected, and then you find out that him and Bill had a big argument and never really made up for it, and Bill's very you can't care for people because, they'll all get you killed, and he's very grumpy about it all.
Yeah.
So, when you watched this episode just before I did, you watched it during the day, I watched it in the evening, Kayleigh watched it after me. So when you watched it and said, oh, people aren't happy about this, I was like, okay, so I've worked out roughly where we are, and I'm expecting the Bill and Frank storyline, and I'm expecting it to be the people that, why do you need to throw a gay character into it? Whoa, bollocks.
Oh yeah, that's there. That's big time, yeah.
That's big time there. So that's kind of, when you said about the reaction on social media, I was like, Bill and Frank are in it. Well, Bill's in it, and cool, okay. And then I watched the episode, and I was like, oh my god, Bill and Frank were really. Oh my god. Okay, let's just dust in the air. Wow. Okay, this is. Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, there is a divergence from the game there, which is clear, which will sort of circle at the end to kind of discuss why I think that they made that change. Kayleigh, the episode doesn't actually begin with them, though. The episode actually begins with Ellie and Joel, and we have a couple of scenes which I wanted to sort of bring you in on. The first one, what did you think of the way they did the scene where Ellie and Joel were talking, and she kind of... There's this trope in all TV and cinema where someone dies and it's like, oh, I'm really sorry for the loss. But Ellie actually went against that and Joel was like, oh, don't say sorry. She's like, I wasn't going to. It wasn't my fault. What did you think about that scene?
I mean, it was surprising. I wasn't expecting her to say that.
No.
At that point. However, at the end, I can totally see why she would have said that, because you can see her level of maturity almost, and she's being pretty pragmatic about the whole thing. She's like, don't blame me for something that isn't my fault. And to be, how old, 12?
Yeah, 14.
14.
Yeah.
Even so, that just shows a level of maturity that actually sets me up with the hope that she's going to be amazing throughout this whole thing.
Don't you start liking characters again?
Oh, I know.
We have now got a situation where we're going to ban talking about actors we like on the show. Like, oh, that's an actor I really like. No, the minute then they're gone. I like the scene for two reasons. One, it kind of went against the trope of, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, don't you be sorry. That kind of thing. But like you just said then, it kind of really highlighted her maturity, but also it's kind of like that clarity of thought. You're in a post-apocalyptic world. You need to have a kind of a little bit of a detachment, I suppose, but just that little bit of seeing things a bit more in a bit different way, a non-emotional way. And she had developed an attachment to her, and she didn't want to leave her behind, but that situation did happen, so it happened. And then she was like, don't. I just really liked it. I just really liked the whole sort of don't blame me. It wasn't my fault. And for me, it was like Joel was like, fair enough.
Okay. Yeah, and I always think it's a bit of, she's really perceptive to that. And actually, she may have been a bit more forceful with that comment to kind of snap Joel out of it and not make him spiral. So she's aware of how he's feeling. So if she's, don't blame me, it's almost her kind of saying, don't spiral, don't get depressed. Get out of your emotions. We haven't got time for emotion right now.
Yeah, no, and it was good. I agree. The next scene, which I actually made a note of, which is one of the stranger notes I've ever done, but I'm actually not going to read my note. I'm going to read a comment that was left on the Last of Us Season 3 episode post from HBO, the makers of the show. And I found this comment and it just made me laugh. So it's references to Ellie and Joel have gone to like Joel's stash house where he's put stuff away. It's like an old store. And Ellie's gone off and she found a hole, that gone off and getting herself in trouble basically. The comment, I'm going to read it to you, Kayleigh, and then I'm going to bring both of you in, but Kayleigh first. The comment is this: oh great, just what I want in my TV show, some girl worrying about her period.
Yeah.
I mean,
caveman.
I read that and I was like, that's got to be trolling, right? That's got to be kind of like, jokey. But no, the guy doubled down several times as people went, really? But it provoked something in me because I thought about it. Like, my note was, finally, this is the first time I think I've ever seen any reference to that. Like, I watched 11 seasons of The Walking Dead. I think probably season 2 in one episode did someone reference it, but that was to do with a pregnancy test. It just like nothing. I cannot think of a TV show that has done that, and I was wondering if it was something that stood out to you or something you didn't really care about or what you thought.
As soon as I saw the box on the shelf and her reaction to that, I just thought that is brilliant, because you never see stuff like that. It never gets mentioned, never gets referenced. And it was only a really kind of throwaway scene.
Yeah, but that's what it needed to be, really, because it's normal. It's a normal bodily thing.
Exactly. And just because it's a, post-apocalyptic time doesn't mean that it goes away.
No, that has not stopped, sadly.
No. I mean, in some cases it might, stress, pregnancy, whatever. Yeah. But, and to see it in a show like that, just as such a casual thing, I think really important. And I can unfortunately understand why some Neanderthals like that chap thought that it was a big deal. But normalise this shit, like go to the every day.
That was my forget. Stefan, bringing you in on that. What did you think, if you even picked up on it?
Her line of picked clean like shit or something, my ass. That made me chuckle. Like Kate said, it should be normalised. It was just a fun kind of throwaway sort of mention of it. Same as you, 11 years or so of The Walking Dead and not one. So
yeah.
I mean, I am a typical bloke, so the more that conversation goes on, the more I go, don't talk to me about it. No.
Oh, mate, wait until your kid's a teenager.
I ain't dealing with that. That's the worst problem. Yep, that's fine. Wow. But no, it was just one of those...
Get back in your cave. God.
But no, it was just a nice throwaway kind of easily done. There you go. The fact that someone has made a point of referencing it, surely,
it's not just one. There's a lot, but that was the one I saw first, and I wrote that down. And I saw some others, and just thought, oh wow.
You know what the comment and this is kind of on the same path of stupid comments, but not about the episode itself. But I've seen multiple comments since it started this program about Ellie.
Yeah.
And the fact that some people don't think she's pretty enough, and it's fucking disgusting. And it really, really got my back up, because they're, in the game she's small and petite and she's pretty and she's this, and I just, that's a whole other conversation. Exactly. Yeah. But for people to be
the same people that fancy Lara Croft, probably.
Yeah, probably. Are these the same people that kind of read their comic books and their perception of women came from that? So when a real woman plays one of these characters, they're like, oh no, her boobs are 400 times bigger than that. Well, that's a comic book, dude. That was drawn by someone very horny in the 70s. But anyway. No, you're right to bring that up, and it's actually something that really bothers me. The actress Bella Ramsey is someone who's literally the same age as my daughter, and my daughter is an actress. So my daughter's gone up for several parts in several TV shows and stuff, and she's got very close, and she's been in a mix of things, and she's currently auditioning for another show at the moment, which if she gets will be amazing. And stuff like that gets to me. Because I look at that and I think, that's horrible. What are you doing? You're talking about a kid. and don't get me wrong, even when people do it about adults. And I've been guilty over the years of it. I've been guilty of saying, so-and-so, I don't think they're pretty enough to play that role. But I wouldn't write it on, I see stuff like that and they're like tagging her on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking? What is your goal there? Yeah. I'd say it to someone I'm sat with. I'd probably say it to you two when we're not recording. I wouldn't put it into a public forum, because then someone reads that, it could hurt them. And I don't. That's not any objective I've got there.
Like, if I was to make any comment, number one, I hadn't even noticed that on the whole Ellie character thing, because in the game she's a 14-year-old child.
Yeah.
So attractiveness doesn't really kind of.
No, I find it's disturbing.
And secondly, the only probable kind of thing I would say is that you have a 14-year-old character being played by an almost 20-year-old actor.
Yeah.
Could they have got someone more in the age range? That'd be like my only thing, but.
I don't think she looks 20.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's 20 or so. So. No. I don't see how that's the kind of... How is that a thing online? Oh, she's not pretty enough to... Oh, my God.
To be honest with you, mate, given the way that the show is and given this kind of level of feedback and stuff, I'm glad she's 20.
Yeah.
She might be a bit thicker-skinned about it, but it doesn't make it right.
No, I'm glad, I'm glad that she's able to possibly have the maturity a little bit to leave this stuff behind and not look at it, because I know my kid, being 14 as the character is, would just be all over us, wouldn't leave it alone.
Yeah, social media, you'd be all over there searching, searching your own name to see what people are putting about you.
Yeah, and that's the disaster.
That's a spiral, yeah.
Focusing back into the show, because there's another scene here which I absolutely loved, which is Joel and Ellie walking, and there's a long dialogue between the two of them, started by seeing a crashed airplane.
Mm-hmm.
We get that little reminder again that Ellie never lived in the world as it was. She's only known this. So, the idea of people flying in the sky to her is like magic. And the way the actress portrays that, I thought was brilliant. I thought she really got that across. Her later getting in a car for the first time again was
like
just amazing.
Yeah.
But I love that. I think she's doing an incredible job at that. The conversation between the two is great, because it's kind of a very, very quick recap almost built into the show, built into the dialogue. And there's a moment, and I don't know if either of you picked up, or I don't know if either of you thought the same as me. Joel was describing how it happened. He got into the food supply, sugars, flour, cake and everything, and then he pauses and says, pancake mix. And I don't know if either of you picked up on the pause or whether you think I'm overthinking it, but to me it feels like he's kind of in that moment reliving that in his head of how close they all were to being infected themselves on day one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was very...
Yeah. Kayleigh, we then come to a point here where we see mass graves. Joel makes the mistake of telling a teenager not to go somewhere, so they immediately go there. Cause
that line, the line between the two of them when she goes, "Is it an axe murder up there?" No, too honest. Okay.
You're too honest. You should have told me it was an axe murder, and off she goes. Kayleigh, what did you think about that? Because we kind of saw it in episode 1, the soldier being ordered to shoot and killing Joel's daughter, but now we're actually learning that the government killed people en masse because dead people couldn't be infected. What were your thoughts seeing that?
With just the visual, it was so impactful. They didn't need to do, and it was really well done. They didn't need to do any more.
No.
But just with that scene of just seeing the remains on the floor, really kind of brings it all back to shit. The government did this to us.
Yeah.
And it feels very, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Familiar. They've done this before in our lives. Not our time, but in recent history, people have done this to other humans. Yeah. And it could just as easily happen again. Yeah. It made a huge impact that few seconds.
Stefan, there's a very cinematic moment where it zooms in on like a lady's scarf that's sort of trapped around
wrap
bones.
thing, baby wrap,
wrap around. Me and Kayleigh are both parents. You've got a newborn. Your senses are probably slightly honed at this moment to anything to do with babies and harm coming to said babies. How did you find that? Because I thought the way they did that, the kind of zoom in and then seeing the woman back in 2013 holding the child, so you knew that basically that was a woman and child had been shot and killed right there. It went. Yeah, like there was like a couple of seconds of zooming in and then the flashback, and I'm going, oh, okay, this is a flashback of that character, and then my brain went, dead in a ditch.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Wow.
How did you find that transition? What did you think?
I thought it was. I want to say I thought it was brilliant. The way it was done was brilliant because they didn't.
I agree. Yeah.
They didn't need to show anything. They didn't need to say anything. It literally showed you bones in a ditch to a woman walking around with a baby, and that was all you needed for your brain to go, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Like damn.
I mean, we've said it on countless shows. Sometimes not showing an event, your mind does far more than a visual effects team ever could.
Yep.
And that I think was another example of that. What happens now then is we move into the kind of main portion of the show, which this flashback sets us up to the Fedra kind of troops rounding people up, evacuating them, and we see a guy down in his bunker. On the intro to this show, there's the line from Bill, "Not today, you know, jackboot fucks," and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We meet Bill here now. One of my notes here is I'm gonna say this because I think it's funny, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I'm kind of here for it, and bring it on because I'm gonna say it anyway. Now this is based on a character from the video game, and in the video game the character was gay, so this is not a change they made for TV.
Yep.
This character, however, the way they portrayed this introduction to him as the prepper, QAnon, flag shagging, if you like for a better word, Trump supporting, Americana, all of that, the "don't tread on me" flag, all of that stuff. This is a guy who would have stormed, the January insurrection. He'd have been up the front to do it. They built this character very, very quickly into what, into your mind immediately clicked, oh, I know what kind of guy this guy is. You even called them New World Order, which is a real conspiracy theory spread by millions around the world. If you really want to go down a rabbit hole, just Google that after the show. Wow. But this is what the picture of this guy was, and for me, the reveal then that he was gay felt like possibly the greatest bait and switch that's ever been done in TV history, because I know for a fact, because a lot of people took screenshots, thank you for them, there was a lot of people saying how much they loved this character and suddenly deleted all their tweets. And I love that. There were people identifying with this guy, thinking of him as he's one of ours, he is one of us.
And next thing you know, they're throwing their MAGA hats across the room in fury.
The next thing you know, they are doing that. Now, for me, again, whether it was intended or whether it wasn't, I don't know. But for me, it was so well done, because one of the things that everyone struggles with someone who's kind of a little bit closed-minded is to say to them that, like, someone who's gay, someone who's bi, trans, whatever, they're just people like you. They can have the same views as you, they look like everybody else. They look just like you. And for this to demonstrate to all of them that this guy was a prepper, he was a conspiracy theorist, and he just happened to live in a time that he was proven right in a way that stuff was going to go horribly wrong, and he was prepared for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reaction, it was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning, and so I loved that straight away. But just focusing on the guy, Kayleigh, what were your first impressions? Because me and you both talked about we like this actor, but The Last of Us, this show, this genre, this doesn't seem to kind of suit him. What did you think about those opening scenes of him kind of raiding all the houses and getting to know those initial scenes up until he meets Frank, when you're kind of getting to know him a bit? What did you think?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a pleasant surprise to see him in a role like this, because this is not what I know him for at all. And he really impressed me, and I was really, not in a condescending way, but really shocked at how much of a fantastic actor he is. And he is portrayed as this awkward, lumbering odd bod, you know, who's quite clearly, living in his mum's basement, and a conspiracy theorist. But it's immediately I felt I want to help him. Like, it wasn't this normal kind of, oh, you're a weird doomsday prepper, psycho. It's I want to give you a hug because you are not broken, that's the wrong word, but you're not being your authentic self. And you could see that immediately. Like, he was probably quite emotionally stunted, I think. And that was clear from the outset, because just of the way he kind of carried himself almost. He was awkward, and he was, like I said, like bumbling and just a bit withdrawn, I guess. because he lived underground even though he didn't need to.
Yeah, I mean, at the very end of the show, we have the letter being read out, and he actually says in the letter, "I hated the world and everybody in it."
Yeah, I actually read someone commented on something online, and they said he made you believe that he believed he could survive 100 years in a post-apocalyptic world and not live a single day of it.
Yeah, which...
And to see that transformation over the time of the show was beautifully done.
Well, we see all that opening, and then we kind of have an advancement of 4 years where you see he's built his own compound now. There's fence around it. He's electrified it. He used the utilities to take everything else off the grid but keep his on. He really knew what he was doing. And he went and did it. He got a generator, everything. So he has got electric fence compound. He set traps. He even laughs when one of the infected gets shot by one of his shotguns. He's like,
that was brilliant.
What was it? It says that never gets old.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, okay. Stefan, bringing you in here, we then see a moment where he meets, someone falls into his pit that he's dug. The guy, whoever he is, shouts, "I'm not infected. Are you armed?" Pause. No, which I was kind of like, okay.
Why did you pause? I was trying to think of a line, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, that very first interaction was kind of amusing to me, and then they're kind of face to face, and the bloke's talking to him. Now, me and you did 11 seasons of The Walking Dead. In this moment, I'm going, he's new. Shoot him in the head. Mate, you played the game and stuff, so you probably knew that wasn't going to happen. But if you can try and detach yourself from that for a minute, what are you thinking?
This kind of whole episode kind of sideswiped me a bit because I knew of Bill and stuff in the game. I knew Bill and Frank in the game, they never officially say they were together or lovers or anything, but you kind of read between the lines of the dialogue and you can work it out, The game doesn't kind of tell you as much as the show does. So
yeah, I saw a cutscene where Bill says he was my partner when they find him hanging.
Yeah, but it kind of, it's said in a way of he's my partner as in, he's my partner that's got me all through this, or he's my partner as in love interest partner. It's never...
Got you, yeah.
It's never actually said, but you can work it out through the dialogue.
Okay.
So in this, I'm kind of watching it and I'm like, okay, so that's got to be Frank. And I'm kind of like, this is going to be interesting because in the game, we don't really get any backstory to this.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, okay, this is cool. They're building up a bit of backstory. But in my head, I'm still expecting it to go the way the game does.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a little bit of backstory. And then we'll get a little bit of backstory of who they are. And then we'll cut back to the current day of Joel and Ellie meeting up with Bill, asking for his help to get the car parts. Him basically saying, "No, Sodja." Joel going, "You owe me a lot of favours." And him going, "This is the last one. That's it. I help you with this." And then you get out. We're done. Not again. So that's kind of still how I'm expecting the episode to go. So therefore, I'm just taking this as like a fun little kind of, oh, here we go. This would be nice. Just kind of, a quick introduction to who Bill and Frank is. We all know that Frank's going to end up dead, so we probably won't get that much of an introduction to him. But this would be cool to learn about Bill and why he's such a rugged, badass kind of guy that we see in the game. This would be cool.
You were cool unprepared, as we
Massively.
all were. So like I said, we've jumped 4 years to this point where he meets Frank. So he has been on his own for 4 years in this compound. And appears to be the same kind of guy. He doesn't appear to be, he's not lost it or anything. So he obviously lived his life isolated, like Kayleigh said. So that is the norm to him. He does let Frank in. He lets Frank have a shower. He cooks him a meal.
He's a hell of a cook.
He's a hell of a cook. And also a bit of a perfectionist. You see how he moved the plate? Like, put the plate down, then realise, no, that's not how it needs to look. I need to move that a little bit.
It's got a bit of OCD kicking in.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. And Frank says, wow, I wasn't expecting you to be the kind of... Or is it it's something that he knows to pair rabbit with a certain bourguignon?
Certain wine and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you wouldn't think I'm the kind of guy. And I'm sorry, and I genuinely thought in that moment, I was like, I think he might be gay.
Yeah.
Nah. But the funny thing is, I kind of said it to myself. I thought, nah, they wouldn't do that. This is an American show. They know the kind of audience they're going to have. If they do that, their people will go mental. Then we have a scene with a piano.
Yep.
And
Kayleigh,
Bill takes over.
The penny drop for you?
Yeah, well, the penny, yeah, the penny didn't drop. It was kind of the Queen shilling dropped, I think. No, he was playing. He took over and playing, and he put his hand on him and said about the girl. Well, who's the girl? And he said there is no girl. And he went. He basically sort of like I worked that out.
Yeah, I know. So,
But I still, even up to the point that they kissed, like even up to that point, I still wasn't. Thinking, they're not going to do this. There's no way.
No, for me, I'd kind of sussed the way that Frank was. There was a few of his mannerisms and stuff, and I kind of had Frank as. So my brain was going, well, surely that means Bill must be as well. But whoa, are they going to really do this? Like,
so Kayleigh, for you, when did you totally click or work out what was going to happen?
Well, Frank, it was instant.
Okay.
Just instant.
So my gaydar is well off. I didn't pick it up at all.
And I think for Bill, it was when Frank was in the shower and cooking the clothes.
Oh, okay.
Ryan, however, because we actually watched this one together, it took up until they cut to kind of another 4 years into the future for him to stop saying, he's going to kill him. He's going to kill him.
No, did he think Frank was going to kill him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Way,
yeah.
The whole way.
Yeah, that was actually my next thing. My next note I've written down. Yeah, my next thing I wrote down was dodgy guy seduces Bill, gonna steal all his stuff. Why are we seeing this?
When they finished dinner. And he kind of said, oh, I better go. And he did the kind of awkward, but I'm not going to get up quickly. I'm not going to leave immediately and see how this goes. Yeah. I knew instantly then that, that was that. And he's going to be there forever. But up until literally the next 4 years later, Ryan was convinced that he's going to kill him.
Well, the next jump takes us to 2010. So that's a 3 years. And my favourite thing about this is you go from them in bed together and that kind of awkward first time together.
And I've got to be honest, bearing in mind this show was made by HBO, I wasn't entirely sure where that scene was going to go. Like, they made Game of Thrones, and we saw a lot in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but neither of them had boobs, so...
It was pretty tame by HBO standards.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He starts he gives the line of, I'm not a whore, I don't just sleep with anyone. If we do this, I'm going to be staying here for the next few days. And I'm like, how much I hate... Because, they're already going to have made a few enemies with the fact they've made this guy, Bill, like they've decided to make his character and then show him as gay. So they're already going to have a few people. They show too much here, they're going to have torches and pitchforks at them. So I was like, how far are they going to go? Yeah, and then it cut to an advert, and I was like, all right, they played it safe.
I still don't think it was that safe for them, to be honest. But we jumped to 2010, and the thing I loved about this is the last scene, like I said, was this awkward first time together, and now they're bickering. And they are bickering like a full-on couple that have been together a long time. And we have this moment. Frank says to him, I'm all about living life, and life needs to be lived. You're all about staying in a bunker. You thought the government were all Nazis, and he's like, the government are Nazis. It just cracked me up. He went, yeah, they are now, but they weren't then.
Yeah.
Good point. Like, the dialogue between the two of them was phenomenal. The chemistry between the two of them, phenomenal. These two actors just knocked this out of the park.
It's the bit I think was brilliant was we're going to have friends. We don't have friends, Frank. We're never going to have friends. Well, actually, I've been talking to a nice lady on the radio.
I know.
You've done what?
I know. Yeah. And then we cut to seeing Joel and we see Tess again. Kayleigh, how was that for you?
Yeah. Amazing. And I'm now holding out hope that we'll get more flashbacks.
Okay.
But I don't know. I love her so much.
It was just the fact that, like, they were talking, and I love the fact that Frank and Tess basically were just besties. Like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then across the table you've got Joel and Bill glaring at each other with a gun, like literally pointing at it, and he's like, no, it's fine, I get it. And then a bit later on it's like, get that fucking gun out of my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the whole interaction between the two of them. I loved that naturally Joel and Tess were introduced into this flashback, which gives us all of the context we need to why we're seeing this.
Yep.
And also it gave us that knowledge of these are the people they were smuggling in and out to, trading with, doing stuff. This is how Joel and Tess were living. Basically, they were going to them. They were going in and out of the compound. I thought it was great. I loved the scenes between the four of them. I also felt it was kind of interesting when Joel and Tess were leaving and Joel said to him, like, you know, your traps are going to keep the wandering infected away because you're not going to get many up here. Government have got no interest here. You're safe from them, but it's going to be raiders who will come up, cut the fence in the night and attack you. And Bill's like, well, we're fine. Joel's like, okay. And then we see a flash forward again, and you see that Bill is now really locked this place down. There's like a whole wall of cars where there used to be just like a little fence.
Yeah, Joel tells him the fence is only going to last a few more years. So he goes, fine. I want to know how he got the cars on top of the cars. That's my only question.
I don't want to be very strong. He's Ron Swanson, dude. To be honest with you, who knows?
There's a forklift round the corner. It's fine. It makes sense.
Well, there probably is. I mean, if you remember, he went to that. Right at the very start, you saw him go raid one of those massive DIY stores. There's probably about 10 forklifts parked there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it all would have been there for him. he just would have had to have used it. We saw just how resourceful he was. But like we said, we've gone another 3 years forward, and now, we do get this raid. Unfortunately, Frankie foreshadowing there from Joel, and during the raid we see that Bill gets shot. Now, again, this wasn't in the game at all because you didn't get any of this backstory. But Kayleigh, I'll start with you. What did you think of what I felt was like the almighty swerve of what looked like Bill dying on the table, with Frank doing everything he could to save him, to us then seeing a scene with one of them in a wheelchair, but it being Frank in the wheelchair? What did you think of that?
I mean, I was holding my breath that entire time he was on the table.
Yep.
And I thought, this is it. He's done.
Yeah.
And when you first see the wheelchair come out, I thought it was him.
Yep.
It took me a little minute just to get my brain from to right back to the sensible place.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a shock. I don't know how else I can describe it. I just wasn't expecting it, and it was a. Well, what's happened? What's going on? Yeah. Why are you doing this to me?
Why am I being taken on this roller coaster? Stefan, what did you think, mate? Did you think of it as a kind of a great swerve, or were you just kind of like Kayleigh going, why are you doing this to me?
I'm just sat there going, what is happening? So, like, Bill's shot and he's bleeding out, and in my head I'm like, okay, what the hell? What? And I'm like, okay, so, right. And then the next scene.
The thing that made it worse for me was in the previous scene, we'd seen Bill kind of saying, I'm sorry for being older than you, or I'm faster than you. So that was why in my mind I was, he showed some real vulnerability there. And
sorry. I do realise here I need to just mention this. Kayleigh, did you enjoy the strawberry scene?
Oh, I did. That was what? Oh, someone buy me a strawberry fan.
Sorry, it was in my notes.
Bill was pissed that he traded a gun for some seeds.
I know. I traded a gun with Joel. Yeah, which gun? You've got hundreds. Like, calm down.
But you see in that moment that kind of vulnerability where Bill's almost apologising to Frank, kind of saying,
it was beautiful.
You're going to outlive me. And then to see that flip and then to see him taking care of him, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I don't know if brilliant is the word I use.
So how are you doing at this point, Steph? Because I'm guessing when you saw him lying on the table bleeding out, your actual reaction in this isn't the emotion of that. You're thinking, well, this is different.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, okay, they've switched it. Like, is it going to be Frank that the guys meet, not Bill? Like, I'm trying to piece this all together as quick as I can in my head whilst going through this emotional roller coaster of what's going. Like, I was expecting Frank to go out there with the gun and Frank to get shot, and then okay, so they've just swapped that bit out, and then Bill's on his own and a miserable sour old bastard because of the world, and this all like, oh my god, they've shot Bill. What the hell's going to happen now? Like, what?
So we get this time, and obviously Frank has become ill. They don't tell us what it is, but
we
it's
just
obviously
know that
degenerative.
They couldn't cure it before the end of the world, so there's not going to be a tablet
I'm thinking it's MND or something like that. But yeah, we know this is something that they've obviously worked out what it is and ain't good.
Yeah.
He has reached a point in his pain with it and his inability to function that he's had enough. He's done. He asks Bill to crush up enough of his tablets into some wine and basically end it.
Oh, mate, Bill, this scene, the conversation between the two of them. Bill
the conversation between the two of them
was
was brilliant.
Frank, do you love me? Yes, then love me the way I want you to. And I'm like, oh my god!
I tell you what, that line really that line has sat with me. Still sat with me. I'm like still processing that line. I think if you love me the way I want you to. That could change my whole perception on love going forward. Everybody, just so you know. Kayleigh, how were you with this scene? Because I thought of you during these moments. Whenever there's a moment like this, I think, God, if I'm struggling.
Yeah, I mean, I could barely see the telly through the tears. My eyes were stinging, the mascara. I mean, I didn't immediately think Bill's done it too.
No.
I didn't get that, but I really liked something that I did pick up on, which was kind of a common theme throughout the whole episode, actually, the way they visually kind of portrayed the changes in them.
Yeah.
But if you think back to when they first met, they're sat at opposite ends of that dinner table, and over time, they're practically sat on each other's laps at this point, having this heart to heart. Again, just kind of shows the thought.
But do you look around the house as well? There's like flowers and paintings and
things that Bill, 20 years ago would have thought were insignificant nonsense.
Yeah.
He's grown and he's changed, but they both have for the better, and they're kind of one whole person.
Yeah, he's now living, not just existing.
Yeah. But it was brilliant, and from what I could see, it was really well done.
Yeah. I mean, the moment I mean, in my note, I'll read my note. Stefan, you can react to my note. My note is this. Frank has asked Bill to kill him. Oh my god, OMG, Bill is gonna Romeo and Juliet this shit.
Yep.
That was my note.
Yeah. However, as Bill says, this isn't a tragic suicide at the end of a play.
Yeah.
And then he uses this line, and you were my purpose, and it was like, man.
It just like Kayleigh.
I'm gonna go again.
Yeah, Kayleigh said about how much he changed. I don't think he wanted to go back to the man he was.
Yeah.
I think he knew with Frank gone, he would not be able to exist anymore the way he used to. He wouldn't survive this. So he knew that was it. He knew both of them to go.
Frank just looks at him. They're in the wine, aren't they? Yep, enough to kill a horse. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, brilliant.
Yeah, there was no kind of messing about with that. There was the guy was the ultimate prepper. You know, the ultimate. He had everything worked out.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of amazed me as well is he made that decision. Frank said, like, take me to bed, and the two of them went to bed, and they died there. But he had made that decision clearly during the day, because he then set everything else up. You know, the letter that he hoped Joel would find, or whoever.
Yeah.
He also, you know, set the practicalities of left the window open so the house wouldn't smell.
Yeah.
That kind of thinking in those situations, I mean, that separates people, you know. That's kind of crazy.
I mean, it's very final, you know, I've made my decision.
Yeah.
And it was a very thought out kind of decision. It wasn't a spur of the moment thing. I didn't think, maybe he'd been thinking about it, you know, oh, if Frank goes tomorrow, then I'll go.
Yeah,
but they made the decision together, and it just shows their partnership, and it was so good.
So we know that this has happened, and then we see Joel and Ellie arrive at Bill and Frank's.
Mm-hmm.
Joel is arriving cautiously because he's sort of looking around. Obviously, his relationship with Bill is one of frenemies, basically.
Well, as Bill says in the note, anyway, I never liked you, but it's like we're friends, almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, great. I think that's as close to a friend as he ever had in his life, to be honest with you. And I mean, I loved the relationship that Frank had with them, you know, with Tess. That was so, the contrast was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But he arrives, they're looking around with Ellie, and Ellie's, you know, just like wide-eyed. This is all new to me. This is great, as she is. He obviously has the gate code, which I kind of thought that's special. You know, Bill obviously trusted him enough with that.
Again, I'm guessing it would have been you, Joel, because anyone else would have been electrocuted or blown up.
and it's the line. Yeah. So, what did you think to that? I tell you what, I loved that for a little subtle thing of she wouldn't have known the context of that, you know, written down he, like, so ha ha or anything like that, because, you know, she never lived in a texting world or anything.
So she's literally just read what she's seen on the page. He,
and it's the way she looks up at Joel like, I don't get it. Like, you know, he would have been electrocuted on my fence or killed by my traps. I don't, not entirely sure what the hell that was, but anyway. And then she like carries on the letter. Having her read that letter out was very impactful again, because she's reading it out cold, because she doesn't know these people. She's reading literally the words on the page. But you can almost see Joel's reaction, like when he leaves the house for a moment. You know, he walks away for a minute. He's just kind of... You think about the days he's having, the people in his life. Tess was in his life. Frank and Bill were in his life. All gone.
Yeah.
And you know, he doesn't know where his brother is. He's clearly got that in his head. And he's got this girl who's infected but not infected, so that's messing with his head.
Yeah.
And he just has to go outside and take a moment. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, wow, yeah, that's kind of, yeah, I think I'd be the same.
Yeah.
But the thing I loved about Bill in this is, like, you know, I hope it's you, Joel. The code to get into my, you know, basement is the same as the gate, but in reverse. So they go down there, and we get the reveal. Obviously, you already knew that the music that was played over the radio, that was Bill and Frank.
Yes.
So if it had been 70s, we got stuff. 60s, we got stuff. 70s, we've got nothing to trade. 80s, danger, problems, you know.
Yeah.
And he left it on a loop, so Joel would have known there was a problem at some point and come and find them, or find the stuff.
Which means the music at the end of episode 1 was actually the music restarting at Bill and Frank's.
Yep. Yep.
I'm okay.
Yeah, so that was the moment.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
We actually heard the moment that they were dying, basically. Yeah. Lovely.
I'm okay.
No, we're not good. We're not good, people. Kayleigh, you still there?
Just about. Yeah.
Just about. So yeah, he's got his pick of all the guns. I mean, one of the things I've obviously got to point out is Ellie sees the wall of guns and it's like, there's a whole wall of them. And he's like, no. But she does go and take Frank's gun. So Ellie is now armed. Well, that's just not a good thing, is it? I'm telling you now, that kid having a gun is not a good thing. We've already seen her get right up to one of the infected, cut it as a bit of an experiment, and then kill it with a knife.
That's her first.
So that got me. I again went,
yeah.
Oh my god, she's done it. I wasn't expecting it, and it was brutal. Like, she wasn't jealous about this.
Toying with it by just cutting the forehead to see what happens. Yeah,
there's that kid's a little psycho. I'm just letting everybody know.
It's like my wife next to me. What is she doing? Me being a kid. Like, it's trapped. It can't get me. Ooh, cuddy.
Yeah, at 14, I don't remember ever cutting up a zombie. But hey, maybe if there had been zombies.
And it was well trapped, so it couldn't get me.
Yeah. What did you think to? I kind of loved the moment that he lifted the hood on the truck to realise there was no battery. I literally had a laugh out loud moment. There's all the stuff there for him to make a battery, which was great and very, very Bill. Bill was the man. So that was great. So he's got a vehicle now. But that moment of when he looks and there's still no battery was what the whole bloody thing was. He was trying to find.
The whole thing was for a battery.
Yeah.
Which is nice and odd because in the game you meet Bill and it's Bill actually helps you, in quotations, helps you find all the parts to restore the old vehicle to be able to drive it off. So I feel like the not having a battery in there was just a little nod to the gaming community. Like, there you go. Look, he's still got to do the side quest of make a battery. Don't worry.
The side quest. You know. You still have to do the side quest. So referencing the letter again, I said at the start I was going to circle back a little bit to why I felt that this, and I genuinely think the main reason why it's so important, the way they did it this way, is because Joel is really on the fence when it comes to Ellie.
Yep.
You can almost see he's like, look, he's basically trying to get his brother. Tess has said, save who you can save. He's really on the fence. And then we get this situation where in the letter it says about how Bill says to him, we're the same. I was on this planet to protect Frank. He references Tess, but he's like, this is what makes me and you different, and, God help any motherfuckers who get in our way.
I've actually got the quote here. Would you like it?
Yes, go on.
So he said, I was happy when everyone died, but I was wrong because there was one person worth saving. That's what I did. I saved him, and then I protected him. That's why men like you and me are here. We have a job to do, and God help any motherfuckers who stand in our way.
Brilliant. Yeah, I loved it. And for me, it felt like this episode was the way the Bill character was given hope, love to live his life. It was all about showing Joel, Joel who's been through hell. Take this on. This message is important. Bill from the game, for example, doesn't deliver that message. Bill in this has been given that hope and that purpose and that drive to be that way. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's why I really liked it and why I think the change was excellent, because I think that shows now Joel getting into that car with Ellie, explaining to her, which based on a side-by-side I've seen was a basic pull from the game of him giving her the rules.
Yep.
And so, to me, it just really worked. It just really, really worked in the context of a TV show. And for me, it just fuels his motivation now to go forward. Kayleigh, what do you think about that kind of line from the letter and, where that went?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. I think additionally what the episode did for me was actually showed that outside of all of the, the camps, the encampments that are out there, there are other stories.
Yeah.
And it's not just about them. And there are other people out there who, and I haven't played the game, might join their band of merry men on this quest to do whatever. So it's really important for me. And I don't like throwaway characters or random story plots in shows like this.
No.
But I think for Joel, it was, like you say, it was important to see that, because actually it humanizes him a little bit. This is another loss for him.
Yeah.
As much as they weren't, best friends
no.
in the world that they're living in, those relationships are really important. And I think it will help Ellie to understand that actually there is possibly more out there for her eventually, rather than just this insular life that she's lived her entire life.
Yeah.
And to show the backstories of, again, from that moment where you see him in that bunker or under his house, and the whole period was really good, rather than just going, oh, this happened in 2023, and then like it did in with the doctors and stuff. So it just adds so much more depth to the whole thing, and stops it from being really high level just guff.
High level guff. I'm glad you went. I mean, for technical terms at the end there, Stefan, what were your kind of final thoughts?
So I thought the episode was brilliant. I thought the episode itself was fantastic the whole way through. When it's a TV show based on a computer game, especially one that I loved as much as I loved this game, and I've played as much as this game, when it takes a sidestep from the kind of narrative that I know, it was always going to make me kind of sit there and go, oh, wait a minute, what they're going to change. So I've got that little niggle in the back of my head of, okay, what they're going to change next.
Yeah. But
if they're going to change things and make it into an episode as beautiful as this one, then crack on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I said it to you, and I've kind of, I've had some time in a few days to sit on it, but a television episode of something, I can't think of anything that's better at the moment. Like, there are bound to be shows I've watched and particular episodes that are stand out, but I watched that episode and I genuinely could have watched it. I genuinely could watch it again and just sit there and just be mesmerised. I thought the acting was incredible. I mean, the casting for this show is nailed on. Everyone who's come into it so far has just been so good. And I'm kind of looking forward to what comes next, because it kind of felt like this episode slowed everything for a moment to give us a bit of emotional depth to the characters, give us a little bit more kind of, this is what this world is. The flashback, not really a flashback, but the newsreel stuff at the start of episode 1 was a scientific thing. In episode 2, it showed us it was global and how there was just nothing anyone could do. In this, it humanised the whole trajectory of these 20 years that have gone by.
Yep.
Between Joel telling Ellie about it and, the day the world ended, all the way to just watching this story through Bill and Frank's eyes of what went on. So, yeah, I think it's one of the best bits of television I've seen ever, and I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait for next week. This show is very much, I'm building my week around this show now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monday.
Yeah. But that's it. That's my final thoughts on it. Do either of you have anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
I only have one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a complaint.
Okay, bring it on.
I don't think it's a criticism, but it's something that I felt I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah.
And that is, I would have liked Joel to have perhaps buried Frank and Bill, and we had a little moment for him to kind of say goodbye. I felt that they deserved that bit of respect, not to just be left in the bedroom. But that's me. That's just my...
He did say in the note, don't go in there.
Yeah, he's respected their wishes of not going into the bedroom.
Yeah, I mean...
Do you think Joel is a rule follower? I don't. That's my only thing. I think if he'd have had any kind of deeper love for... if it was me, I would have ignored that and been like, you deserve better resting place than
I think again, it is kind of context at a time. I think if you're perhaps 6 months, 1 year into this apocalypse, I think Joel does that. I think he's 20 years into this. You know, remember episode 1? He's literally throwing dead bodies onto a fire like they're nothing, like kids even. It's just, he has been so dehumanized by death due to this.
Although we do get the nice thing at the beginning where he's making a little stone thing for Tess.
Yeah,
so that was quite
the stone
nice
tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
fair point. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, point taken. Stefan, did you have anything else, like a final thought?
No, I am emotionally destroyed by this episode. I look forward to next week's more action-packed, kind of edgier seat stuff instead of heartbreak.
I saw the preview.
Upfilm, you know.
Yeah, the preview for next week looks like it's going to be back to me hiding behind the sofa. So, yeah, good fun.
Yeah. Have you seen, because I haven't watched it, is there any particularly interesting guest stars that I should be aware of?
No, we're not telling you. You are not naming characters. Oh, I love them, because then I get to watch them die.
There is one character that, according to IMDb, is in next week's show, who is from 2.5 Men back in the day.
Oh, wow, okay.
No.
One of the female characters in that, Rosie. Or Rose from next door.
Oh. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not that bothered.
She's meant to be in next week's episode. And according to IMDb, Jeffrey Pierce is in next week's episode, who vocalised Joel's character in the game.
Okay. Okay. All right then.
However,
so that's
I'm sure
next week.
IMDb has said he's been in every episode so far, and he just keeps changing. So he might appear next week.
We shall wait and see. Okay, everybody. Just the time to say thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Be sure to follow us across any of the social medias that you're on: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. We are putting content on TikTok, although it's a bit slow because Stefan's a lazy git. I'm joking. He's got a newborn.
No, it's fair. That's a fair comment at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, all joking aside, we do put content out across social media, so keep an eye on it. If you're a fan of Marvel, I will tell you that Black Panther 2 is now streaming on Disney+. If you've seen it, enjoy it again. If you've not seen it, then it's a great movie. And there's a really great podcast you can listen to after watching it, and that's ours. You can find that on YouTube, and I did post it to the Facebook page today. It's a little bit of a nudge, a reminder to everybody.
Nice.
You can also talk directly to us. We have a Discord server, which means you can log on to that, give your views on any of the shows or any of the movies we're discussing. You can even give us suggestion ideas of stuff that we're not discussing that you think we should. And you could, like I said, you can talk directly to us. And that's always fun, I'm told.
I'm told.
I try to avoid it. People are scary. There's girls on there, and they're mean. They're mean girls who pick on me, and I don't like going in there because of it.
They do pick on
you. They do pick on me. They're mean.
But it's funny.
It's not funny. Oh, see, there we go, because it's funny. Great. Okay, Stefan, say your goodbyes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Kayleigh, you say goodbye to the little, sort of nice people sometimes.
Oh, bye, lovely people.
And that's it, everybody. We'll be back next week.
So everything came crashing down in one day?
Pretty much.
How? I mean, no one's infected with cordyceps. Everybody's fine, eating in restaurants and flying in planes, and then all at once? How did it even start? If you have to get bit to be infected, then who bit the first person? Was it a monkey? I bet it was a monkey.
It wasn't a monkey. I thought you went to school.
Federal school? Teaches how their shitty government failed to prevent a pandemic.
No one knows for sure, but best guess, cordyceps mutated. Some of it got into the food supply, probably a basic ingredient like flour or sugar. There were certain brands of food that were sold everywhere, all across the country, across the world. Bread, cereal, pancake mix. You eat enough of it, it'll get you infected. So the tainted food all hits the store shelves around the same time Thursday. People bought it, ate some Thursday night or Friday morning. Day goes on. They started to get sick. Afternoon, evening, they got worse.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.